"We're going to have to let you go," Michael said with rehearsed disappointment, sliding the termination papers across his mahogany desk while HR Director Brenda nodded solemnly beside him. "Company loyalty is paramount at Vertex Systems. My name is Alex Parker, 38 years old, Senior Systems Architect at Vertex Systems in Chicago for 8 years. Or at least I was until that Tuesday morning when Michael, our CEO of just 14 months, called me into his office with Brenda already waiting, her tablet poised to document my dismissal. I'd felt something coming. Not this exactly, but something. 3 years of denied raises despite consistently exceeding targets. 3 years of watching newer hires get promotions while my salary stayed frozen. 3 years of next quarters and future considerations that never materialized. "We've discovered you've been applying for positions at other companies," Michael continued, his French cuff links catching the light as he gestured to printouts of my LinkedIn messages. "That demonstrates a fundamental lack of commitment to Vertex's future." I kept my expression neutral despite the anger rising in my chest. 8 years I'd devoted to this company. The enterprise authentication system that secured 92% of our client base. My architecture. The cloud migration that saved $2.3 million annually. My strategy. The North Star project that landed us 3 Fortune 500 clients. My pitch. But none of that mattered now. "I understand," I said calmly, signing the termination agreement. 2 months severance. Standard non-disclosure. No non-compete clause thanks to Diane, our previous CEO, who believed they were innovation killers. I thanked Michael for the opportunity, packed my laptop, collected my certifications from the wall, and walked out past curious eyes. My team would hear some sanitized version by end of day. "Alex has decided to pursue other opportunities," or some equally diplomatic lie. As I waited for the elevator, my phone vibrated with a text from Marcus in engineering. "They just made the biggest mistake in company history." I learned coding in my dad's home office in Montana. He ran a small software consulting business, teaching me that elegant solutions came from understanding the actual problem, not just patching symptoms. "Anyone can write code," he'd say, "but architects build systems that last." I carried that philosophy through college and into my career. When I joined Vertex, they were struggling with scaling issues. Good products with poor infrastructure. Within 2 years, I'd rebuilt their entire security framework from the ground up. Diane, our CEO, then understood what I was building. "Make it work first, make it pretty later," she'd often said. "The clients who actually need enterprise-grade security will notice." She was right. Within 3 years, our contracts had doubled. Major financial institutions and healthcare providers trusted Vertex because our systems solved real security problems without compromising performance. Then Diane retired. The board brought in Michael from fintech darling Money Matrix to elevate our market position. Suddenly, meetings were about brand perception rather than system integrity. My architectural recommendations were questioned then sidelined. The new developers, mostly his former colleagues with impressive resumes but limited enterprise security experience, started getting the prime projects. 6 months ago, I submitted proposals for our next-generation security infrastructure. Michael dismissed them as over-engineered. The following week, I saw him present remarkably similar concepts to the executive team, credited to Jason, his recent hire from Money Matrix. That night, I called Sarah, an old colleague who'd moved to SecureNet, Vertex's growing competitor, as their head of engineering. "How's your contract looking these days?" she asked after I explained the situation. "No non-compete," I replied. Diane thought they limited innovation. Sarah went quiet for a moment. "Interesting. Very interesting." The termination package was fair enough. 2 months' salary and extended benefits. Professional courtesy for 8 years of service. I signed without argument and drove home in silence. My apartment felt different that afternoon, emptier somehow, yet full of possibility. I sat at my desk and opened files containing the architecture proposals Michael had rejected over the past year. 5 comprehensive system designs, each one meticulously documented, each solving specific security challenges for enterprise clients. Rain tapped against the window as I reviewed them. I'd been designing as if I still worked for the old Vertex, the one that valued robust security and scalability. But that company didn't exist anymore. It had become something else, chasing market trends instead of solving core problems. My phone rang at 6:15 p.m. "Catherine Westfield, CTO at SecureNet. Sarah mentioned you're available," she said without preamble. "Says you're the real talent behind Vertex's enterprise security platform." I said nothing. Just waited. "Got anything worth looking at?" she continued. We're planning our next-gen architecture. Could use some fresh thinking. I looked down at my rejected proposals. I might have a few ideas. Send them over tonight. If they're good, we should talk. After we hung up, I spent 5 hours refining 3 designs. Not changing the core architecture, just improving the documentation and implementation roadmaps. At midnight, I emailed them to Catherine with straightforward notes explaining the security model behind each one. Then I went to bed and slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I woke to an email from Catherine. My office, 10 a.m. Bring your contract terms. I showered, dressed in my technical interview outfit rather than corporate attire, and drove to SecureNet's headquarters across town. The receptionist led me straight to Catherine's office, a space filled with whiteboards covered in system diagrams and architecture flowcharts, not the minimalist designer furniture of Michael's domain. Catherine gestured to her monitor where she'd opened all 3 of my system designs. These solve problems we've been chasing for 3 quarters, she said simply. Especially this one. She pointed to the centerpiece of my collection, a zero-trust architecture that adapted to threat levels without burdening legitimate users. How soon can you start? She asked. I'm available now. She nodded once. Good, because we're going to move fast on these. Very fast. For the first time since Michael arrived at Vertex, I smiled. 1 week into my new position at SecureNet, I got a call from Ryan, Vertex's lead developer. We'd worked closely together for years, solving complex implementation challenges, finding the balance between theoretical security and practical deployment. Alex, this is unofficial, he said quietly. But things are falling apart. Jason's security models look good in presentations, but they're nightmares to implement. Authentication latency is triple what your systems delivered. The API handoffs are inconsistent. Not my problem anymore, I replied, though a part of me still cared. Michael's claiming you left the team without proper documentation on your security frameworks, Ryan continued. He's telling leadership that you deliberately withheld critical information during transition. That made me sit up straight. That's a lie. I know, but he's convincing. The board asked me if there was any merit to it. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about moving on. Michael was actively undermining my professional reputation. Against my better judgment, I emailed the board chair requesting a meeting to clear the air. She agreed to coffee the next morning. The cafe was busy, which I thought would be good. Neutral territory, public place. Victoria arrived 10 minutes late, already looking at her watch. I'll be direct, I began. I've heard Michael is suggesting I deliberately left the team without proper documentation. That's not true. All my files are organized in the shared repository, and I personally trained Jason on the architecture before I left. Victoria nodded, her expression unreadable. He mentioned you might get defensive about this. Look, Alex, the tech industry is small. I'd hate to see your reputation damaged by this unpleasantness. The threat was thinly veiled. Stay quiet or we'll make this difficult for you. I appreciate your concern, I said carefully. I'd hate for Vertex to waste development resources on security systems that can't actually protect your clients effectively. Her eyes narrowed slightly. We'll manage our implementation challenges internally. Thank you. I do hope you'll be discreet about company matters going forward. As she left, my phone buzzed with a text from Catherine. Contract ready. We want to move fast on your zero-trust architecture. I looked back at Victoria's retreating figure. She had no idea what was coming. 3 days later, I received a certified letter from Vertex's legal department. They were reviewing my employment history regarding potential intellectual property concerns. The letter carefully avoided making direct accusations but implied I might have violated company policies. I showed it to Catherine, who immediately handed it to SecureNet's legal team. Standard intimidation tactic, their counsel explained after reviewing it. They have no case. The architectures you're creating for us are original, and you had no non-compete clause. They're trying to scare you into backing down. Should I respond? I asked. No, we'll handle it. That evening, the lawyer sent a simple, devastating reply to Vertex. We have extensive documentation of Mr. Parker's rejected proposals while at your company, along with the dates they were submitted and subsequently dismissed. We would welcome the opportunity to compare those with your current development timeline in court. 2 days passed with no further communication from Vertex. Then Ryan called again. What did you do? He asked. Michael had a closed-door meeting with legal, and he came out looking like he'd seen a ghost. I said nothing. Just watch your back, he warned. He's not giving up. 2 days later, Sarah invited me to lunch. We met at a steakhouse downtown, far from both our company's headquarters. "You need to see this," she said, sliding her tablet across the table after ordering. It displayed Vertex's internal product roadmap for their fall security release. Somehow, Sarah had gotten her hands on it. I scrolled through and stopped cold when I saw the technical specifications. They were my architectures, the exact proposals Michael had rejected 6 months ago. Now rebranded as the Sentinel platform, with Jason's name listed as lead architect. "They're planning to launch in October," Sarah said quietly. "Full marketing push. They've already reassigned half their development team to it." The realization hit like a physical blow. He rejected these designs knowing he'd use them later. He just didn't want me to get the credit. Sarah nodded. "Looks that way. But here's something else you should know." She took the tablet back, opening another document. "SecureNet is planning to fast-track your security platform. Catherine convinced the board to move up development. They can have your architecture implemented by September." I sat back processing this. A month before Vertex launches. "Yes, and with proper attribution to you as architect." Sarah looked me straight in the eye. "But you need to decide now. Once development starts, there's no turning back." I didn't hesitate. "Let's do it." That evening, I called Catherine and formally accepted SecureNet's accelerated timeline. The contract included something Vertex had never offered: royalties on each enterprise license sold with my architecture, plus technical oversight of the final implementation specifications. "We're calling it the Guardian Platform," Catherine explained. "And we want your name featured in the technical documentation and marketing." 2 days later, I signed the paperwork in SecureNet's headquarters and handed over my complete architectural files. Not just diagrams but detailed implementation specifications, API documentation, and deployment guidelines. When I got home, there was an email from Michael in my personal inbox. "Alex, I hope this message finds you well. I was reviewing some of our upcoming security features and realized we might benefit from your expertise in a consulting capacity. Would you be open to discussing this?" I deleted it without responding. The following week, I toured SecureNet's development floor with their engineering team. They'd never attempted anything like my Zero Trust framework before, components that worked independently but formed a seamless security mesh when deployed together. The lead engineer, Dave, pulled me aside after the tour. "This architecture is revolutionary," he said bluntly. "But it's also complex as hell to implement. If we're really hitting the September deadline, I need you in meetings with my team every day." "Whatever it takes," I told him. For the next month, I worked 14-hour days. I slept on the office couch twice when we were testing authentication handoffs. The development team grew to respect me when they saw I understood the practical challenges they faced. Unlike Michael, I didn't dismiss implementation concerns as someone else's problem. Halfway through the process, I received another email from Victoria. "We should discuss your current activities for your own professional future." Another threat. Another attempt to control what they'd thrown away. I forwarded it to SecureNet's legal team without comment and kept working. SecureNet moved with astonishing speed. Within 3 weeks, they had working prototypes of my security framework. I spent days in their test environment fine-tuning details, working directly with their development team to ensure every specification was perfect. The Guardian platform consisted of 4 interconnected systems: a next-generation authentication framework, adaptive threat response protocols, seamless cross-platform security integration, and real-time vulnerability assessment. Each component worked independently but functioned best as an ecosystem, something I'd been trying to get Vertex to understand for years. Catherine brought me into marketing meetings, something Michael had never done, and listened when I explained the technical benefits that should be highlighted. "These aren't fancy dashboards," I told their team. "They're defense systems for companies that can't afford to be breached." In mid-August, whispers started circulating in the industry. Enterprise clients who'd gotten preview demonstrations of the Guardian platform were impressed. Online forums buzzed with speculation about SecureNet's unexpected direction. Then came the call from Ryan at Vertex. "Alex, did you?" He stopped abruptly. "Never mind. I shouldn't be asking. What's happening over there?" I asked, though I could guess. "Michael saw SecureNet's preview at the Chicago Tech Summit," Ryan said quietly. "The Guardian platform is impressive. He's in full panic mode, claiming they stole concepts from us." I remained silent. "The thing is," Ryan continued, "we both know these aren't stolen from Vertex's current systems. They're your original proposals, the ones Michael rejected, aren't they?" "I can't comment on that," I replied carefully. "You don't have to," Ryan said. "Your name is on them. clear as day in the documentation. Architected by Alex Parker, former senior systems architect at Vertex Systems. It's brilliant. The following day Michael himself called. I let it go to voicemail. His message was curt. Alex, this is unprofessional. We should discuss this situation immediately. Instead, I drove to SecureNet's headquarters for the final product launch meeting. The marketing campaign was ready. The implementation teams were prepared. In 2 weeks, the Guardian platform would deploy to enterprise clients nationwide. 1 month ahead of Vertex's planned launch of the suspiciously similar Sentinel platform. The night before our launch, I couldn't sleep. 8 years at Vertex, countless line diagrams, hundreds of technical specifications. All that work had led to this moment. Not the way I'd expected, but maybe the way it needed to happen. At 5 a.m., unable to rest, I drove to the lakefront trail. The same path where I used to walk and think through security problems during my Vertex days. Dawn was breaking as I reached the water. The air was cool and damp, perfect for clearing my head. My phone buzzed. A text from Catherine, it's live. First deployments initiating. Client feedback already coming in. I stood by the lake watching the sunrise, feeling a strange mix of vindication and sadness. I hadn't wanted it to end this way with Vertex. I'd given that company everything, but they'd chosen Michael's vision over mine, style over substance. Now the market would decide which approach was right. By the time I walked back to my car, I had 14 missed calls from unknown numbers. Tech journalists, industry analysts, and security bloggers all trying to get the story behind SecureNet's surprising new platform. And one message from Michael, you've made a serious mistake. I finally called him back. No, I said when he answered. You did. The Guardian platform launched on September 15th. By noon, SecureNet's sales team had closed deals with 2 major healthcare providers and a financial services company, all former Vertex clients. I watched it unfold from Catherine's office as industry publications released their advanced reviews. Revolutionary. Game-changing. Sets a new security standard. My name appeared in every technical analysis. 3 days after the launch, Cybersecurity Today ran a feature comparing the Guardian platform to leaked specifications of Vertex's upcoming Sentinel platform. The headline said it all, separated at birth, the curious case of 2 identical security frameworks. The article didn't explicitly accuse Vertex of theft, but it raised questions about the timeline, noting that I had architected both systems, though Vertex was crediting Jason for their version. Industry forums exploded with speculation. Security professionals who knew me from conferences connected the dots immediately. LinkedIn filled with side-by-side comparisons and pointed questions about intellectual property. Victoria called again. This time I answered. This is completely unacceptable, she began without greeting. You've deliberately undermined our company. I designed security systems for a company that hired me to do exactly that, I replied calmly. Systems you're now selling under someone else's name. We'll need to discuss legal options, she threatened. That would be interesting, I said. I have emails from Michael rejecting these exact architectures 6 months ago. What would a court make of the fact that you're now producing them with someone else's name attached? Silence stretched between us. You should have valued what you had, I added quietly. Good luck with your launch. The following week, Vertex announced they were postponing the release of their Sentinel platform for additional refinement. Industry analysts saw it for what it was, a retreat. By November, the Guardian platform had secured contracts with 27 enterprise clients, 6 of them former Vertex customers. My royalty checks reflected the success, already exceeding my annual salary at Vertex. Catherine promoted me to Chief Security Architect, giving me a team of 12 engineers and complete technical oversight over our next 3 product releases. Sarah transferred from business development to join my department as strategic advisor. Vertex eventually released a hastily redesigned security suite that bore little resemblance to my work. The reviews were lukewarm. Their stock price dropped 12% the following quarter. I ran into Michael at a cybersecurity conference in Denver that winter. He was at the bar alone nursing a drink as I walked past. Congratulations on your success, he said, stopping me. His voice carried no warmth. I nodded but said nothing. You could have stayed and fought for your designs, he added. Why didn't you? I considered this for a moment. Some places don't deserve the fight. He flinched slightly, then composed himself. Victoria is stepping down next month. The board asked me to restructure the company. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Good luck, I said and meant it. The industry needs strong competition. 6 months later, I received an unexpected package. It contained all my original technical documents from my time at Vertex, along with a handwritten note from Ryan. These belong to you. Michael's gone. Just thought you should know. I opened one folder to a system design I drafted 3 years earlier, an adaptive security framework for multi-cloud environments. Something I'd never shown Michael. That evening I called Catherine. I have an idea for our enterprise cloud offering, I said. The following spring, SecureNet's market value had doubled. Vertex announced they were restructuring under new leadership. I didn't follow the news too closely. I was too busy designing what came next. Sometimes at night I still think about my years at Vertex. Not with bitterness anymore, but with clarity. They taught me something valuable, just not what they intended. In this industry, in life, your work speaks for itself when given the chance. Michael tried to silence mine, but in doing so, he only amplified its voice. The best revenge wasn't in proving him wrong. It was in finally finding a place that recognized what I'd known all along, that good security isn't about following industry trends. It's about solving real problems for real clients. And that, in the end, is what endures.